The treatment outlined was simple and logical, evidently meeting this body's specific needs. A bridge of mental attunement was set up through the seeking on the part of the priest, the offering of this help by Edgar Cayce, and the prayer and meditation at the time. The reading was given. Intestinal fever. This is the case study of a young woman 18 years old, who had a critical attack of intestinal fever. Before her first emergency reading was given on September 21, 1935, she had had 2 previous physical readings, one in 1927 and another in February 1935. The request for this emergency reading was made by telephone. The condition at the time the reading was given was afterwards described in a report submitted by Miss L.K. We quote from this report, "T was taken with chills and a high fever. After taking the medicine given by the physician for what he termed malaria, the condition became worse, causing excessive vomiting. I could not retain anything, not even water. Then, I began to suffer with pains in my chest, abdomen, and right side. There was such a burning sensation in my stomach that it felt as if it were on fire, and this condition spread up into the chest." The physicians diagnosed the condition variously as malaria fever, Malta fever, colitis, gastritis, and typhoid fever. One of the physicians stated it was appendicitis, but after we received the readings, we knew from them that it was the inflammation that was causing the severe pain in the right side in the region of the appendix. The telephone request indicated that this young woman was in a coma and was not expected to live through the night. The seriousness of her condition was confirmed in the reading which follows. There is a river first reading. Yes, we have the body here, this we have had before. Conditions are very serious in the physical forces of this body, and the causes are from temperature that arises from infectious forces. In the present we find the stomach is affected, or the duodenum. The infections from same to stomach. Cli. Greater distress is in the upper portion of jejunum, or in those cords that connect the intestines themselves through the NNPH and emunctory circulation of same. These are infectious forces, and unless there is an allaying, peritonitis must come, and the inflammations that arise from same and disintegration. As we find in the present, we would apply over the abdominal area the grape poultice, the raw grapes crushed with hulls, in a thin cloth container and applied over the stomach and abdomen. We would massage gently the areas from which all these portions of the system obtain their impulses, with a combination of equal parts olive oil, Russian white oil, pound tincture of benzoin and witch hazel. Shake these well together, and let the massage extend particularly over the upper dorsal and cervical area. But extend gradually over the whole area, if the body responds at all. We would find that burned whiskey and then an eggnog made of same would be preferable for the diets in the present. This, of course, with small quantity given often, allowed to sip just a bit. These, as we find, would be the conditions as best. It would be well that the lower limbs, across the lower portion of the abdomen, that is, on the spine, not on the abdomen itself, sacral lumbar, be massaged with grain. There is a river. Alcohol, not rub alcohol but grain alcohol, to strengthen the body and yet allay temperature. These we would do for the immediate present. As conditions respond, or should they respond, it will be necessary, of course, that very small enemas be given at first. These will keep down the temperature and are the best to allay inflammation through the colon area. Then the colonic may be given later. But do not give these too high at first, gradually increase. Use a warm soda solu. Thion in the first, followed with the glycothymoline in the solution, or the alkaline petrolaga, or alternated. These given every day or two will tend to make for better conditions. Ready for questions. Q1. What should be done in regard to treatment being given by the doctors? A1. There's little being given except nursing and sedatives, which are not allaying. The oil rubs, Clypax, as we find, are the better. Of course, the grape poultice is not to be heated. This should be changed about every hour, or as soon as the pack becomes heated by the body. Renew the crushed grapes, and keep up the packs for 2 or 3, or 4 to 5 hours at the time. Then rest, and then give them again. Just crush the grapes in a cloth, or made so the pack extends over the whole of the abdomen and the stomach. The oil rubs Shoy-JD be given 2 to 3 times a day. Do not disturb the body. Just turn gently on the side and massage just what the body will absorb. Shake the ingredients well together, because they'll separate. But these, as we find, are best for the conditions. It's very serious, and the peritonitis is that to be warned against. There is a river, hence very mild foods, and the stimulation more by absorption, which is, of course, the effect from the grain alcohol rubs and the burned whiskey with only the yolk of the egg and a little milk. Q2. How often should the grain alcohol rubs be given? A2. 2 to 3 times a day, as indicated, with the other oil rub. One is on the upper portion, the other is the lower. We are through for the present. Second reading. Yes, we have had the body here before. As we find, conditions are still very serious. While there are those reactions that apparently make for bloating or swelling, the reactions are not bad if there is the ability to get the reaction through the alimentary canal. Now, we would give immediately a soda solution enema, with the petrolaga enema following same. This we would repeat again in at least 5 or 6 hours, if there is the response. Compound or combine this for the nausea, which will work with the system. Lime water ounce, cinnamon water ounce, 10% solution iodide of potassium 15 minims, 10% solution bromide of potassium 30 minim. Shake the solution together. Give a teaspoonful in 2 teaspoonsful of water. Let it be sipped rather than attempt to be swallowed every 2 hours. We would keep the poultice and the rub. These are the best stimulants as we find for the body in the present. Ready for questions. There is a river. Q1. How much water should be used for the enema? A1. A quart of tepid water for the first, with a level table spoonful of baking soda. A pint of tepid water for the last, with a tablespoonful of petrolaga. Q2. Should the grape poultice be kept up constantly? Now. A2. As indicated, keep it on for 2 to 3 hours, rest an hour, and then repeat again. Q3. Would a transfusion be of any benefit? A3. We do not find it so in the present conditions. Q4. Have the suggestions been followed in the correct manner? A4. Very good, best they can under the conditions. Q5. Any particular kind of water the body should drink? A5. Just the plain water, boiled. Third reading yes, we have the body here, this we have had before. Conditions continue to be very serious. There is the necessity of removing those conditions through the alimentary canal. As we find, this is the only hope to relieve the pressure, as has been indicated, and carrying out same as has been indicated. To be sure, there are weakening conditions, and the excruciating pains that come make for the rising of disturbing conditions. But we would tend to be higher and higher with the enemas, and to make for the easing through the avocations. As given. Ready for questions. There is a river Q1. How often may the enemas be given? A1. They may be given, as we have indicated, every few hours, until there is the manner of allowing the gases to be eliminated, and the increasing forces that accumulate in the system from absorption to those conditions there to be prevented. Q2. Should a colon tube be used, or an ordinary nozzle to a syringe? A2. A soft colon tube. One that does not allow too great a quantity of water or pressure from the end. Let the pressure be more from the side than the end. Q3. Is there any warning regarding giving the enemas? A3. The warnings have been given, as to how there should not be given too much water at once. Rather allow the reactions to take place in the system, if possible. Q4. Should all other treatments be kept up? A4. As indicated, these are the only conditions that may suffice, if there will be the response. Q5. Any other helpful suggestions for the body, or advice to those attending same? A5. Be consistent and patient with those activities, and trust in that it may respond in the body. Q6. Has peritonitis set up yet? A6. The inflammation has increased, it has not broken as Q7. Has the body responded at all to the treatments? A7. If it hadn't, it would have passed long ago. Q8. Any advice regarding any stimulants? A8. The greater stimulants, as we have indicated, should be to host things given, as we find, that may be absorbed at all. There is a river, of course, the massaging gently of the area over the abdomen will be helpful, with that which would be absorbed to remove inflammation. Q9. What should be used for the abdomen massage? A9. Oil, olive oil. We are through for the present. Fourth reading yes, we have the body here, this we have had before. STU conditions are very serious, but, as we find, there are greater chances for the recuperative forces with the body, for she has responded somewhat to those applications made. It is still necessary that the eliminations through the alimentary canal be continued, even though If there is still TLI response, these will have the appearance of too great an activity, or for a time appear not under control. Still it will be well that there be used the enemas. Now we would change these just a little bit. With the soda solution add a little saline solution, that there may be a stimulation to the mucous membranes without same becoming too lax in the reaction. To the quart of water used, add a heaping teaspoonful of soda and a level teaspoonful of salt, table salt, and in the last water change from the petrolager to glycothymoline, a tablespoonful to the pint and a half of water. These should be given every 4 or 5 hours until there is a thorough relaxation through the alimentary canal. Still use the grape poultices, but make these a little farther apart, and let these extend from the pit of the stomach to the lower portion of the abdomen, over the whole of the intestinal tract and stomach. There is a river. It would be well to have right away a gentle massage, osteopathically, stimulating especially the secondary cardiac plexus area, that there may be the emptying of TLI stomach itself from the stimulation. This should be given very gently. Coordinate the lumbar, fourth lumbar, plexus with this, gently, that there may be the stimulation for the secondary activity of the kidneys and the lower portion of the abdominal area. This we would give about twice a day for the next 2 or 3 days. After the first manipulations have been given osteopathy, Cowley, prepare an alkaloid solution, a 1/4 teaspoon, full to half a glass of water, and let this be sipped every few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes apart, until the whole quantity, or that left, can be retained by the body. This will change the reaction from the tendency for regurgitation and emit through the stomach itself. This will prevent these strains now, if there are the reactions from the manipulative forces, for the reaction will turn to the chyle activity. Then there may be a little stimulation given in the crushed grapes, that is, the juice only of crushed grapes. Not the same as used for the poultice, but the same actor of grapes as used for the poultice. The colder this may be, the better. Just a little of this will be found to be retained after there has been given the alkaloid solution and it has been retained. Keep the oil rubs for the upper portion of the spine and the grain alcohol, rubs for the lower spine, for these will be absorbed by the system. Keep the olive oil massage over the abdominal area during the rest periods from the grape poultice. These, as we find, are the best for the present. Ready for questions. Q1. How long now should they wait between the poultices? There is a river. A1 hour and a half to 2 hours, that's between each Q2. But they should be given for several hours straight, along as indicated at first. A2. We have just given, TLI. There is to be a rest period after each grape poultice. Let it stay on the body until it becomes hot, or very warm even to the outside. Then, remove and wait an hour and a half to 2 hours before replacing with another, using the olive oil massage during the rest period from same. Let the poultice extend from the esophagus end, or the cardiac end of the stomach to the lower portion. or to the cecum area and the ilium plexus area, across the whole of the abdomen and stomach, and bowels. Q3. Do the capsules the doctor inserts in the rectum, and the powder given, hinder or help? A3. They don't remain there long enough to do either. Don't refuse these, if they are necessary according to the doctor, but use the enemas as indicated. And if the time comes so that these are removed by the enemas, all right. The manipulative forces, now, are to stimulate the active itty of tire nerve forces and blood supply to the digestive area, and those portions where there is the inflammation. Not too severe. Twice a day these should be given for the next few days. Stimulate the cardiac and secondary cardiac plexus, coordinating such stimulation to the lumbar area. To be SME, the head and neck may be massaged for the general rest of the body, but these manipulations as indicated are to empty the stomach. Not to make adjustments, but to stimulate the plexus so that the activity of the gastric flow is downward and to prevent regurgitation. 20 to 30 minutes after taking the manipulative there is a river forces. Begin with the alkaloid solution. Do not attempt to swallow too much. Do not be over-anxious that the body is weak, or that it does not retain nourishment. If the oil, rubs and the other things are provided, then begin with the grape juice, from the sliced fresh grapes, not grape juice that has been allowed to stand. This may be strained, not seasoned with sugar or the like, but just the natural fresh juice. Gradually, later, there may be mixed orange juice with same, half and half, use the grape juice first. From Cly fresh crushed grapes. These will be assimilated and obtain from the absorption of the oil and the alcohol, grain alcohol, rubs the proper reaction. We are through for the present. We do not often find such a comment as is contained in one of these early readings indicating Cly nearness of death. The seriousness of this condition was confirmed not only by statements from members of the family, but by several physicians who were called in for consultation by the family doctor. This young woman was well known in a small community. The street in front of her home had been roped off for a block. In a local church, prayer services were being held for her. The doctors had commented to people in the town that LK could not possibly live for more than a day or so. Subsequent readings. Other readings were secured on September 25th, September 28th, and October 4th. Suggestions in these readings were along the same general lines as those previously given, with additional information regarding the diet as the body grew stronger. There is a river. The outstanding part of the treatment recommended in this case seems to have been a grape poultice. These poultices have been recommended most successfully in many other conditions of intestinal inflammation combined with the massages and enemas, and later the osteopathic stimula. Tie-ins. These seem to have been the means of saving this young woman's fee. Crates of Concord grapes were rushed in from a nearby city to be used for this purpose. On June 15, 1937, we received the following report from L.K. Under the care of 6 physicians, I failed to respond to their treatment, and was gradually growing worse. I responded immediately to the treatments recommended. In an emergency reading obtained from Edgar Cayce on September 21, 1935, I am now able to eat anything that is included in my diet, and in better physical condition than before my illness. I have not had any recurrence of malaria fever or gastritis. Under date of October 3, 1937, we have a report from the osteopath, who was called in to give the massages which were recommended. This report states that in her opinion, the reading described the condition of the patient accurately. She states that the results of the treatments recommended were splendid. At the present time, this young woman is in the best of health and has had no further complications of an intestinal nature. This individual case study of arthritis presents several interesting features. 1. The thoroughness of the analysis of the condition. 2. The inclusion in the readings of considerable general information on arthritis. 3. The detailed treatments suggested. 4. The complete recovery statement of condition under date of October 7, 1932, Mr. Edgar Cayce received a request for a reading from a young lady in Dayton, Ohio. In this letter, no reference was made to the nature of the ailment. In a subsequent letter, before the first reading was given, the following information regarding the condition was given: "My trouble is in my joints. Doctors have told me it is arthritis, but can find no source of infection, no cause for it, and, seemingly, no of very htitly help to offer me. I have considerable pain in all my joints, and am subject to severe night sweats. Signed M.J. MCC. This was the extent of the information furnished relative to the nature and extent of the disturbance. In 1939, 3 years after completely recovering from this condition, MJMCC gave an oral account of her illness to Mr. Cayce and members of the association staff. The suffering must have been intense, but the appalling factor was the utter hopelessness of the situation. The 18-year-old girl was gradually becoming an invalid, was slowly losing power of movement in every joint in her body. There is a river first reading. We have the body here, MJMCC. Now, as we find, there are abnormal conditions in the physical functioning of this body. These conditions would prove very interesting. IUID worthwhile in considering a condition that in many portions of the country, and in all portions to some extent, is gradually increasing, and that proves unusually hard to cope with. For conditions are so often hidden that it is hard to find the source or the cause of that which the professions have called the point of infection. Were the pathological conditions studied in the proper light, taking some that may be given here as the basis for investigations, this case would prove very helpful and beneficial in many other similar conditions. In this body the point of infection is hidden, yet may be located in the basic forces of the metabolism and catabolism of the system. It is the lack of elements necessary for the developing of that which makes for the regeneration in the elementab forces of the living organism. of functions triad provide the proper coordination and physical balance throughout the system. First, in the inception of this body, some 19 years ago, not what may be termed properly, as in old considerations, prenatal conditions, but as of prenatal surroundings. There were those elements taken by the mother which affected the body. These made for first tendencies. Then, with the character of the surroundings of the body, the character of the water as assimilated, the general dispositions that made for the resuscitating forces in the assimilating system. In many portions of the body the glands have been deficient in some respects and overactive in others, in supplying the elements necessary for the proper distribution of forces in the system. There is a river. These are the points of infection, then, that make FOI tendencies in the structural portions of the body to become more active than other portions. This has not reached the point where the growth is turned into that position or man, nor where the elongation of bone itself begins, but rather the crystallization in the muscular forces and tendons. The substance is lacking that should supply to the joints of the extremities that oil or that plasm that makes possible normal functioning. Were this turned into one more infectious point, we would have rather the tendency of elephantiasis proboscis in its inception, as it is in the present, from those glands of the lacteals in assimilation, from the activities from the spleen and thymus glands, from the kidneys, the adrenal, and those in the leading, overactive at times, and those of the pancreas supplying to the bloodstream those forces that are as the chrysalis of the infectious forces from the adrenals. All of this makes for the stoppage, rather than the drainage, from extremities. This must eventually cause sleeping paralysis or stony paralysis, or bring on a condition that makes for a twisting and turning of the bones themselves, by the muscular forces becoming hardened in such conditions. Then, to meet the needs of such conditions, various stages of this particular disorder necessarily indicate that different amounts of elements are lacking or are excessive in portions of the functioning body. We would first be very mindful of the diet. Keep away from all forces that supply an overabundance of salines, limes, silicon, or the like, in the system. Supply an abundant amount of those foods that carry iron, iodine and phosphorus in the system, for these will act against that already supplied to bum or destroy those tendencies of. There is a river demarcation in the activities of the glands. We would outline something of this nature. In one meal each day we would supply principally citrus fruits, or nature's sugars, nature's laxatives in citrus fruits, figs, prunes, and berries. A great deal of those forces that may be found in the pie plant, or the like, salsify goose berries in any of their preparations, whether those that are preserved or otherwise, provided they are without any of the preservatives, currants and their derivatives, that is, properties that are made from them, you see, without preservatives. Beware of apples and bananas among the fruits. Beware of any that would carry moii of those that would add silicon in the system. One meal each day would consist of foods from such as these. Then there should be one meal almost entirely of nuts, and the oils of nuts. The activities from these in the system are such as to produce a different character of fermentation, with the gastric forces of the stomach and the duodenum itself. The type of the lactics that are formed in the assimilar tion must be entirely changed. Chlorhydrochlorics that are formed in the system must be changed. The lacteals must be stimulated to throw off that which will gradually build in the pancreas, the spleen, the kidneys, the duodenum. More of those forces that will lessen the tendency for the accumulation of those conditions in extremities. The evening meal may be of well-balanced vegetables that are of the leafy nature and that carry more of those properties as given. We will find much in turnips, eggplant. No cabbage of any nature, either cold or cooked. Some characters of beans, provided they are well dried and grown in a soil that is different from that carrying iron. See? These will aid. The meats should be preferably, when taken at all, of wild game, or take fish, or oysters, or seafoods. So much for the diet. There is a river, then we would take also, internally, those properties of atomidine. This is iodine in a form which may be assimilated in the system. In the beginning, if this is taken in large quantities, it would tend to make for a GI stiffness. Then, we would begin with small quantities. Twice each day. Take 3 minims in water, morning and evening. Each day. Increase the amount 1 minim. Until there is being taken at least 10 minims twice a day, then stop for 5 days, then begin over again. At the end of the 3rd period of taking the atomidine, we would begin with Epsom salts baths, not until the 3rd period of taking the iodine. These would be taken once a week. Add 5 to 8 pounds of the salts to sufficient water in the bathtub to cover the body up to the neck. This would be 5 to 8 pounds to 20 or 25 gallons of water. The water should be just as hot as the body can well stand. As it cools, add more hot water. The body should lie in this for at least 25 to 30 minutes. After coming from this bath, the body should be rinsed off in plain water, then rubbed down thoroughly. Massage. Thock softly into the whole of the body, that is, all of the cerebrospinal, all of the shoulders, head, neck, ribs, arms, lower limbs, toes, feet, hands, fingers, a solution of equal pies of olive oil, tincture of myrrh, and Russian white oil. Heat the olive oil first. Then add the same amount of tincture of myrrh while the olive oil is hot, and while cooling, stir in an equal amount of the Russian white oil. This doesn't mean any of those that are of the paraffin base, but rather that which has been purified. This should be Mars, saged in thoroughly, all that the body will absorb. Follow this, because it will make the body rather oily, with a general rub off or sponge off with rub alcohol. After such treatments, of course, the body should rest. When this has been taken for a period of 3 to 5, there is a river weeks, then we will give further instructions. Remember, the diet must be kept up. Remember, the atomidine must be kept up for this full period, and then further instructions. will be given. Q1. What causes severe night sweats, and what may be done to correct them? A1. We have given what may be done, and we have given the cause, for with these conditions that are caused by the glands functioning, and the attempts of the system to reject these conditions, it would make sweat break out on any one'll do as we have outlined, and then when the period has passed as given, we will give further instructions. A hasty reading of the preceding document may result in confusion owing to involved sentence structure and peculiar use of words. Naturally, our point of view must differ somewhat from that of the young woman who received this information. Her first consideration must have been, what hope does this offer? The reference to glandular conditions, improper assimilation, etc., may have been impressive. The warnings regarding serious complications certainly must have fitted in with the report from physicians. And the simplicity of the treatments probably impelled an effort to give the suggestions a trial. But we can well understand that faith in the reports from those who had followed similar readings, and desperate need, were the important factors which moved this young woman to give the information a thorough trial. Back of this ready flow of technical terms there apparently lies a comprehensive understanding of this condition. This "there is a river" is no exposition of theory, but a definite application of general laws relative to arthritis to a particular case. The analysis includes not only present conditions, but future possibilities involved in the advancement of the trouble. The range of the perception seems unlimited. These statements are taken from letters now in the association files, written by the patient's mother. The first reading was given on October 21, 1932. Reports began on the 1st of the following month, November 1, 1932. It seems too soon to say or think that MJ is better, but she seems to be. The pain in her knees is gone, they are still stiff. Her elbows are better, not so painful. There is color creeping into her face. She has been so white. She has had one spell of palpitation of the heart, and a night sweat last night, one night in 3, 4, or 5, as before it was every night. November 18, 1932. MJ finished the second series of drops this morning. The pain and then the stiffness ceased in all joints, except the left elbow, with the first series. There could not have been such a marked change with the second series. But the left elbow has yielded and is practically as good as the other. There is some soreness in some of the joints upon pressure. The night sweats are better, but the last one, last Sunday night, was more profuse. They are further apart. This week, Wednesday night, she had an acute attack in her left thumb, the pain, as acute or more so than ever it has been in any joint. Thursday it ceased, and by night a finger on the right hand hurt, but less severely. December 3, 1932. MJ has finished her third series of Atomidine. She will take her first bath this coming Monday. There is a river night. Her left thumb insisted on hurting her for 3 or 4 days this week, but is some better today. The night sweats are remaining better. She had 2 during this series. of drops. We believe they are of a different type as they are more profuse and more general, all over her from head to foot. Her heart palpitation seems better and her complexion is very good at present, clearing up in the past week. December 17, 1932, we saw no change after the first bath, except a hard night sweat. The second bath was this past Tuesday night. Wednesday she ached all over and had a headache. Pain in her left thumb is still persisting and Wednesday was more acute, hurting into her hand and arm. Her right knee felt queer, rather creepy, like when she first took this. Today, Saturday, the other knee hurt just a little. Friday evening she had several hard lumps in her fingers of the right hand, which got very sore. She has had them, at times, for the past 7 or 8 years, but they have been gone since just before she started your suggestions. Her face and neck broke out badly this week, even before the bath, per usual. This is accompanied each time, it seems, with acute gas pains. We think her shin bones are sharper and more prominent, her flesh seems flabby. December 17, 1932, we can feel a bump or lump along the right shin about 2 inches wide and 3 long. There are small limaps close against this shin bone at this spot. They are not sore. She starts with the atomidine this morning and has the bath Tuesday night. We hope for favorable results next week. Besides taking iron and copper capsules, a white salicylate tablet and a strychnine tablet at bed time, she was taking diathermy treatments from an osteopath. We told him we wrote you. He asked what you were giving her, and we said iodide. He rather gasped, iodide of potassium. There was a hushed "oh" when we said atomidine. There is a river